The Teenage Ninja Turtles are themselves mutants, which naturally means that most of the bad guys they fight and the good guys that help them are also mutants. And although the franchise has been one that's been largely equal parts fun and action, that hasn't stopped the writers from coming up with some mutants with extremely dark and tragic backstories. There are young teenage mutants who were abandoned by their parents or abducted by madmen to help them build nuclear-powered submarines. And in this video, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. The 8 darkest TMNT mutants you forgot ever existed. Let's begin, shall we? Mutagen Man. Timothy, better known first as the Pulverizer and later as Mutagen Man, is a minor antagonist in the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, but in the episode titled Mutagen Man Unleashed, he becomes really dreadful, at least as far as cartoon villains go. He was initially just a teenager who worships the mighty turtles and wants to become a mutant vigilante like them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with someone who wants to become like your heroes, huh? But the only problem was that he was less skilled than those copycat fat Batmen from Dark Knight, and no fanboy in a rubber suit ever solved fewer problems than creating more. In the show, Roger Craig Smith voiced him, and I'm sure you didn't know that he is the same guy who played Ripslinger in Planes and Baron Draxum in Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. As a human, Timothy is an overweight teen in a turtle costume, with a green rubber suit, a yellow belly, and a red bandana like Raphael's. After his mutation, though, things really, and I mean really, exacerbate, and the dude just starts to look like crap. He becomes a transparent blob monster with his brain and organs visible inside his body. When he consumes mutagen, yellow spotted hands and feet come out through the container holes. The sadder part of this ordeal is that Timothy is not evil in the beginning, and as I just mentioned, he was simply a regular kid with a Ninja Turtle obsession. He's a big dreamer, I'll give him that, but he's also pretty naive and impatient. But more importantly, he's super unfit for combat, and honestly not built for the ninja life at all. Like, not at all. So much so that even Master Splinter calls him a doofus and tells Donatello not to train him. Cause, you know, some causes are beyond lost. Still, Timothy believes he is a great fighter, even though almost every opponent proves otherwise. In The Pulverizer Returns, he works with the Foot Clan, but even they see him as useless and plan to use him for experiments. And all of this happened only because Timothy ignored Donatello's clear warnings and took the mutagen because he thought it would turn him into a mutant superhero. Instead, it pretty much ruined him. After the mutation, he becomes more aggressive, more feral, and far less aware, though he briefly understands what happened after he sees his reflection. Later, Donatello describes him as a barely sentient glob of intestinal goo, which is harsh, but also very accurate, sadly so. He later consumes more mutagen, which gives him limbs. Timothy loses his grip on reality completely and uses Donnie's speaker to talk. And later, he blames the Turtles, his former heroes, for whatever fate befell unto him because of his own poor choices. So yeah, Timothy's life went to hell after the incident, and the kid lost his childhood in one of the worst ways possible, Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa has appeared in several iterations of the TMNT franchise, but I think it's best to talk about her first ever version, the one that was created by Charles M. Howell IV and the Murakami Wolf Swenson team. She was a physics major before her life became what it became. One day during a fishing trip with friends, Captain Filch attacked their boat. Her friends got away, but Filch kidnapped Mona and tried to force her to help with his submarine experiments. Mona played along for a while, then tried to destroy his nuclear reactor one night, but she didn't take into account a few things, and as a result, she found herself heavily mutated. After that, she vowed to stop Filch herself. Before the mutation, Mona was a Caucasian woman, likely in her late teens or early 20s, with brown hair and a ponytail. But following her drastic mutation, she gained green scales, webbed fingers, a long tail, and strong legs that helped her attack, leap high, and move better underwater. She looked like a salamander, although with brown hair and other mammalian traits. Her yellow torso looked like a leotard and continued under her tail, with a brown belt and a pink ribbon around her neck. In fact, in her action figure card, they called her the Lovely Lizard Lady. Later, Raph finds her on a bridge after she ties up the crew. He tries to stop her, but she kicks a giant steering wheel loose and traps him with it. Then, Filch captures the yacht with his mutant anemones. And Raph thinks Mona led them into a trap, but she explains that she was trying to avoid it. After that, Raph and Mona escape into the water, and Raph admits he is not in a costume. Like, he basically tells her that it was him. All the green and the turtle-like anatomy was a part of his body. And to his fortune and surprise, Mona also reveals she is a mutant too, and tells him her origin story, like the same one I told you a while ago. Anyway, Raph and Mona work together and save the day, along with the other turtles. Later, Raph tells his brothers he misses her, and then Mona arrives with April and pizza. She was clearly meant as Raph's love interest, but like Lotus Blossom, she vanished after that one appearance in the original cartoon. Worm. Worm is basically a reality warper who's all about spreading universal disorder. He's not the only one of his kind, and there are like 2 more of his kind, and millennia ago, all 3 were locked inside 5th dimension prisons and were scattered across the cosmos. But the one we're talking about is known to be the most powerful worm of the 3 and across the 10 dimensions. So yeah, the turtles really had their work cut out for them when Worm showed up. When the Turtles, April, Casey, and Fugitoid answered a signal and reached a dead ship, they found no signs of life, but there was a strange hole that had been blown from inside the vessel, and finally, Worm made his presence known to our good guys by this blue hue. Anyway, they all suit up, and Casey bumps into this luminous cube. And once he takes it, the dead crew on the ship turn into astro-zombies. But the heroes manage to defeat these astro-zombies and bring the cube back, only to learn from Honeycutt that it was a hypercube, which was basically a key to the 5th dimension and its extra-dimensional entities. He wanted it locked away, but Casey was, for some reason, refusing to give it up until it was actually ripped from his hands. Later, Casey sneaks back under compulsion and opens the cube, and next thing we know, Worm comes out as smoke with eyes and suddenly takes this extremely grotesque form. He says that his job is to spread joy and offers 3 wishes, although Casey already wasted one on the astro-zombies. Donatello accidentally uses the second wish after he says Casey should stop being such a dummy, which turns Casey into a hyper-intelligent, omniscient version of himself. Eventually, the group realizes they are somehow both outside and inside the hypercube, but are unable to figure a way out, at least initially. Honeycutt then reveals that if all 3 wishes get used, Worm becomes free, and all creation pays for it. Raphael gets mad and wishes for a superweapon, but Worm's rules make it useless, so the final wish is gone. Free at last, Worm starts to erase planets and stars, and as strange as it may sound, Casey appears to side with him, and Worm grants him another wish, so Casey asks for everything to return to before they found the hypercube. April stops Casey in the reset timeline, the cube stays lost, and Worm is trapped again. Pizza Face. Before Pizza Face became Pizza Face, he was simply the face of New York's most famous pizza chain, that is, Antonia's Pizzarama. And for quite a while, he was just a running gag kind of thing in the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that's the reason why even before his actual appearance or introduction, people knew who he was. And for the longest time, he was mostly an alluded-to figure on pizza boxes. But things changed for him in Season 2, more specifically the episode called Pizza Maze, where Antonio went from pizza chef to pizza face, the evil titular villain of the story. But how did this happen? Well, he found one of the Krang's lost mutagen canisters, and his curiosity beat his survival instinct, which is why Antonio decided to taste the stuff. He tasted it because he thought it might become a good ingredient for his beloved pizzas. I mean, like bro, this is why health inspections exist. Anyway, as could be expected, the mutagen turned him into a pizza monster. Now, Pizza Face could create living pizzas that help him capture humans so he could satisfy his own hunger. But before anyone could figure all this out, Michelangelo was the only one left to stop him because his brothers and Splinter were already under Pizza Face's control. And because this is Mikey, he came up with a very simple but effective strategy to beat the evil sentient pizza monster. So what does he do? Well, he literally cuts his way through the cheesy villain from the inside and leaves only a slice behind, which frees the humans and his family. And if you think about it, Michelangelo kinda committed cannibalism, no? I mean, he did eat a man who just happened to be a pizza, but of course, Pizza Face doesn't go down that easy because his last slice attacks Mikey and makes him faint. Mikey later wakes up at home and believes the whole thing was a dream, except the final reveal tells us Pizza Face is inside an empty pizza box in his room. Armagon. Armagon is basically a mutant shark, but he keeps on changing from one version to another. You can find his first incarnation in Archie's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures era, and more precisely in The Mighty Mutanimals #7 by Mike Cazalet, Dean Clarrain, and Scott Shaw. That Archie line began close to the 1987 cartoon, but it soon became its own continuity, which is how characters like Leatherhead could be put in like these very intelligent roles, as indifferent to how they initially started. Interestingly enough, Armagon's name was actually a typo of Armageddon, but then they chose to just keep it instead of fixing the name, and he later became the most important character in the Future Shark trilogy, where he came from a dark future to face the Mutanimals. Later, in that same future, he helped Shredder and Verminator X fight both the present-day and future turtles. As far as the future version is concerned, pollution and ecological disasters had destroyed New York City, while Donatello's destruction of the rat population had turned the once neutral Rat King into a full-fledged enemy. Armagon was mostly muscle there, but as a cyborg mutant shark who could move fast on land and in the sea, he had a pretty cool look to him, which is why we still remember him so fondly, some of us at least. However, the 1987 cartoon never used him, and even when the later seasons became darker with villains and plots, Armagon never featured in the original run. The 2012 cartoon, however, made him an alien bounty hunter with a shark-like body and shark-themed armor. Later, Vrengeth Dreg hired him to hunt and kill the turtles, though the order later changed to just capture. This Armagon was calm, clever, and focused, and he even used Raphael's bond with Mona Lisa against him, but in the end, an alien Scorpionoid ate him. Later, the Amazing Adventures and Panini comic versions stayed close to the 2012 version of this humanoid shark, while Rise of the TMNT made him an alien herald in shark armor who warned the turtles about the Triceraton Empire. In the IDW comics, however, Armagon was given a way more cosmic sort of origin. Their Armagon was a trans-dimensional shark-like monster from a dark future, and some timelines had him eat and kill members of the Turtles, which is pretty dark for TMNT. Anyway, in order to deal with him, Donatello had to study arcane magic and work with a past version of himself to defeat him, and by issue number 150, Armagon was dead in that continuity. Good riddance. Mondo Gecko. Jason, also known as Mondo Gecko from TMNT 2012, might seem funny, but then you stop laughing when you learn about his rather dark and sad history. He was a normal teenager with a pet leopard gecko named Lars, and one day he was on his self-made half-pipe when a mutagen canister from a Krang ship hit him on the head. Since Lars was on his shoulder at the time, Jason mutated into a 4-foot-tall humanoid leopard gecko. And to make things worse, his parents rejected him and threw him out onto the streets. After that, months passed, and Jason spent his time alone in the shadows with only his skateboard to rely on. Then, after the Krang invasion, Mr. X took him in as an errand boy. That's where Michelangelo meets him. And of course, Mikey's impressed by his tricks because the boy can skate. He may not be a great fighter, but when it comes to a board, Mondo knows what he's doing. And well, any skill is a skill. Like when the boys can have big digs and extendable pubes as superhero traits, why not skating? Mr. X had taught him that every mutant should look out for himself, and initially, at least, Mondo followed that rule a little too much. So when Casey Jones almost falls off a building, Mondo laughs instead of helping him, which, yeah, not his finest moment. But anyway, what happens is that Mikey saves Mondo when he's the one in danger, and that starts to change his entire point of view. Later, when Mikey and Casey battle Fishface, Mondo sees Fishface's true nature after Fishface slaps him away. That's the moment Jason learns that having a friend's back is better than acting like you always gotta do the lone warrior thing, and from that point onward, the bond between the Turtles and Mondo became pretty strong. Personality-wise, Mondo is a legit surfer and has the same stereotypical surfer traits. He says stuff like dude, gnarly, and cowabunga, etc. He also gets annoyed when people don't call him Jason, and as for his abilities, his skateboard skills, as I just mentioned, are excellent, and his mutation makes him fast, agile, and able to scale walls with his adhesive hands. He can also use his tail like another limb, even to hold his skateboard. Scumbug. Scumbug is an animal-born mutant cockroach from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and one of Superfly's sisters. She was one of Baxter Stockman's mutant children, created because Baxter didn't want his research used for weapons and wanted a family instead. When Spider and the TCRI squad attacked, Superfly, her elder mutant housefly brother, fought them off. But a stray shot hit combustible material, Stockman died in the blast, and Superfly saved the baby mutants and raised them himself. Later, Superfly tried to help his family enter human society, but humans treated them like monsters. Between that rejection and Stockman's death, he began to hate humans, and he taught the others to hate them too. So when the gang met the Ninja Turtles, they'd been trapped in this very mindset, and when Superfly introduced Scumbug, she mentioned that Scumbug only spoke vermin. I mean, that's fair, I guess, since, well, Scumbug is basically a cockroach mutant. Anyway, Scumbug helped with robberies, and she also participated when they attacked the Turtles, because they saw the Turtles as little more than turncoats. But once the Turtles asked them to abandon the plan against humanity, the gang finally had a moment of sense, and also some clarity. You see, they realized they never truly wanted to wipe out humans. The thing is, they only felt trapped, nothing more, and basically believed that they had no other option. So they turned on Superfly and smashed him into his ooze humidifier. Rocksteady and Bebop gave the final push, which sent him out of their hideout and into the water. Of course, that made things worse. The humidifier went off underwater and fused Superfly with a whale and other aquatic life. Then he came to a zoo and fused with more animals, which created what they call, wait for it, the Super Duper Fly. Yep. Anyway, by now, Scumbug and the former gang helped the Turtles stop him. Later, they all moved into the sewers with the Turtles and Splinter, and Scumbug began a relationship with Splinter, much to his son's disgust. So, a cockroach and a rat. I wonder what the babies would look like. But this wasn't the only appearance of Scumbug. She also appeared in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed, the game where Splinter says she dumped him. Well, really, she was more mentioned than appeared, if you can catch my drift. Groundchuck and Dirt Bag. To be honest, Groundchuck and Dirt Bag have a really funny origin. And although across different versions, their backstories have changed in slight degrees, the basic idea has remained intact. So Groundchuck is a mutant bull and Dirtbag is a mutant mole, and both usually end up fighting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In the original 1987 cartoon, Groundchuck was voiced by the late Bob Ridgely, while Dirtbag was voiced by Pat Fraley, who also voiced Baxter Stockman, Slash, Krang, Anthrax, and several other characters. Their origin starts at the City Wild Animal Park, where Shredder plans to test mutagen on a lion and a gorilla. His plan was to create mutants that can help him steal a ruby from a museum. But then Kerma, a turtleoid, enters the zoo and frees the lion and gorilla before the plan can reach its completion. That leaves Shredder without his chosen test subjects, and then Bebop and Rocksteady release a bull and a mole. The bull hits the mutagen dispenser with his head, the mutagen spills on both animals, and there you have it. Groundchuck and Dirtbag are born. Shredder and Krang are shocked because this was absolutely not the plan, but Shredder still gives them outfits and orders them to steal the ruby. Groundchuck asks why they should listen, but Shredder tries to be stern with them, which kind of backfires because the two new mutants were simply not in the mood for bossy metal helmet guy and his energy. They escape and eventually run into the Turtles, and as you can expect, a fight breaks out between them, but then Kerma captures them before dragging them into what turns out to be his spaceship. And just like that, an innocent bull and a mole lose their animal lives forever and become something strange. So yeah, there have been some really strange mutants in the TMNT universe, and although you don't really expect it, some of them have had really dark stories. Well, that was all for this one, guys. If you liked the video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Those two small clicks from you will help us tremendously in bringing you more of these awesome videos. Stay safe and have a good one.